Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. Let's start it up. We're in Sonoma, California. This is one of my favorite places to ride. The cool thing about this train is that around Christmas time, the whole thing lights up like a Christmas tree, and you get to ride it at nighttime through Old Sonoma and Old Fremont. Alright, today's vlog is about how I got into motorcycles, which is a very easy answer. So I'm also going to talk about my journey, like what motorcycles I've had and whatnot, and why I got them. So obviously today I'm riding my 2016 959 Panigale. It's a Ducati, and you know, so that's obviously is what I have now. But I started off with a very small bike. Actually, before that, the quick answer of why or how I got into motorcycles is simple. It's just my sister. Back in 2001, she bought a brand new 2001 Kawasaki Ninja 250. At the time, I thought, you know, wow, this is really cool. My sister has a bike, and it came out of nowhere. You know, like no one else in my family had a motorcycle, so she was like the first one in our family, or at least our immediate family that I know of, that had a motorcycle. So that was pretty cool. And at the time, she lived in the same building as us, so I got to see that bike every day. But not only that, I also hung out with her and her friends, and we went to Laguna Seca in Monterey. We went, I think, for Moto GP or World Superbike, or maybe both. I got to experience the whole Cannery Row when they blocked the whole street and there's nothing but motorcycles there. So because of her and her friends, got an influence of wanting a motorcycle. Now that was in 2001. Now, due to a lot of things that happened in our family, a lot of changes, a lot of struggles. Now everyone has their struggles, you know, and my definition of struggles and yours could be different. But at the time, yeah, there were some difficulties, and although I wanted a motorcycle almost right away, I could not afford to just go out and get a bike first shot, you know. So first chance I got, I couldn't run to like my nearest motorcycle shop and buy a bike. But in 2009 or so, I stopped going to school. I was working a full-time job, but I wasn't going to school, so I thought I should do something with this extra time I have. So I decided to work 2 jobs for an entire year, and with that extra money, I saved a lot of money. But other than that, I also decided to treat, on top of saving money, I decided to treat myself to all my hard work. So I bought myself what I think is one of the best beginner bikes. Some might argue that, but I bought myself a 2009 Kawasaki Ninja 250. And I did it because I didn't want to worry about the throttle, about the bike being so powerful that I get myself into trouble. And again, that's just my opinion. I'm sure there's people that can just hop onto a much bigger bike and not worry about the power, but that's one thing I wanted to not worry about. I just wanted to concentrate on the safety aspects of it, of learning how to ride and learning like the behaviors of the drivers in their cars in my area. I think that's important. Knowing where you're going to be riding at, if you are going to be commuting especially, and just learning those hours of the day that are going to be like a lot more crazy when it comes to cars, or just knowing your neighborhood and how people drive around there. Are they the type of people that just completely blow through stop signs or don't look around? Because I do honestly think it has to do with the behaviors of the drivers in your area. I don't think it's the same everywhere you go or everywhere you ride, especially if you're using the bike as a commuter. So anyways, I did that, and a lot of people said, hey, you're gonna eventually grow out of that bike, and which is true. Once I learned how to ride, oh, and another thing, I want to give a recommendation, which is when you're buying your first bike, you know, it may not be something small like I started off with, but I do advise, first spend your money on your gear. Spend your money on your gear first. Buy your gloves, your helmet, and all that. And then whatever money you might have left over, buy your bike. All right, now that's more than just an opinion. That's some advice I want to give, and I think a lot of people would agree with that. I think it's important, you know, like we could get into it in a whole different conversation, but just an example, like helmets have an expiration, believe it or not. So even though it may never been dropped, even though it's barely been used, if it's been a few years of the helmet just lying around, it has an expiration. So just think about that. All right. So, and spend your money on a course, you know, like a class. Learn how to ride, you know? Anyways, so after the 250, I wanted to upgrade a bit, and I got myself a 2009 Ninja ZX6R. So I went from a 250cc to a 600cc. And yeah, the first time I rode that 600, going from a 250 to a 600, I'd never ridden anything in between that, not even a try, with the exception of the bike I used in the class, which, I mean, that's in a parking lot. It was, wow, like it felt like the bike was just on a treadmill. Like, so my first impression of the ZX6R going from a 250 was just like, wow, this power is just, you know, just straight through, like no struggle at all. And I was like, wow, I made the right decision to start on a smaller bike, learn how to ride, and then get a more powerful bike. That, you know, I was happy that I went that route. When I traded in my 250, I think I bought my 250 for like $4 grand, and I got something like over $3 grand when I traded it in. So I didn't lose a whole lot of money, in my opinion, for the bike. And then I got myself the ZX6R. And it's funny, the year that I spent with the Ninja 250, or less than a year that I spent with the Ninja 250, I never even dropped it, nothing at all. And the ZX6R, I went a good amount of time with nothing happening until one day someone decided to cut me off, 2 lanes really slow, and I had no choice but to go with the brakes, and, you know, just slipped under me and fell. I know for sure the helmet hit the pavement, so I had a headache, and then my ankle rolled, so I was not walking for like about a week, and thank God nothing else happened other than that. But there's a saying for motorcyclists: there's the ones that have fallen and the ones that are going to fall. So it just happens, you know. You just hope and you try your best that it's not something crazy where you, I don't know if you can see it from here, but when you end up like in an ambulance or even worse, you know. So yeah, the ZX6R, that was my second motorcycle. When I met Trin, I found myself not riding as much anymore. You know, and she really liked the bike, but and she didn't want me to sell the ZX6R, but I convinced her that I felt bad. The bike's just sitting there. I'm not riding it. I could use something else. I even thought about buying her engagement ring with the money, and she's like, no, don't do it. I don't want to be the reason why you sold the bike or anything like that. So okay, fine. But I did end up selling the ZX6R, and I bought myself a 2001 BMW 330 Ci as my other toy. So it was something that I could use. I had an Acura TL at the time as well, so I had my comfortable automatic car and I had my fun stick shift. It was like that up until a little bit after we got married. When we got married, like, at that point I felt, we moved a little bit further away from work, so I felt like the BMW was actually not a good fit for the commute, and the TL was a gas guzzler, so we ended up getting the CT200, which is a car that we still have now. Not having the 330 Ci kind of left a hole in the toy game in my life. So I said I wanted to get a motorcycle again, and so what I bought was, ooh, and I can't remember the year now. Wow, that's pretty bad. But I bought a Ducati 848, and that was my first bike that I bought that was used, and that thing was just a beast. The 848 was such a beast. Like I would be taking a turn, you know, so, and it was weird. Turning that bike was just such a weird experience. Like, it's a nice Abarth. Turning that bike was completely, it felt so opposite of what I'm used to, even with this bike, which is, you know, with these, you kind of just let off the throttle just a little bit and get back on the throttle, or at least steadily hold the throttle as you're going into a turn. Sometimes I even feel like I go a little bit faster in the turns, but it's more about throttle control. With the 848, I felt like I almost had to completely get off the throttle and then get back on the throttle after the turn, which was weird. It felt like that's the way I had to ride the bike. And then once I got back on the throttle, I would completely lose the front. I would do wheelies on the 848 inadvertently, like all the time. Like, it was such a beast. Very raw bike. Now I'll link the video of what happened, the explanation of what happened to the 848 down below. It's long story short, it got stolen, but the way and the manner in which it got stolen, you guys gotta hear my story about it. So I'll link the video about what happened to my 848 down in the description. You guys should watch that video. Not one of my proudest moments, but definitely like maybe something some of you guys can learn, or you can criticize me about, since some of you might be the smartest people on earth. Anywho, the 848 got stolen. We'll just leave it at that. Watch the video. And then I replaced it with this, the 959 Panigale. Now, I actually wanted the 899 Panigale after the 848. And that was because one of our friends let me ride his 899. And I was like, wow. The 899 to me felt like a combination of a Japanese bike and an Italian beast. Like, it's a beast when you want it to be, but it's smooth as butter, like my Kawasaki's were as well when you want it to be. So I was like, this is amazing. Like, it's the two bikes that I really enjoy in one. But at the time that I got the 959, it was, you know, a lot of the 899s were not available anymore. I read about the improvements that the 959 had, other than a bigger engine, a little bit more mid-range, and also the foot pegs are not slippery like they were, like, which is an easy fix. It doesn't matter, you know. But the biggest reason is just the, like, the availability. It was not available, the 899. So I was like, that's fine. You know, I thought I was gonna buy myself a brand new 899 anyways, so might as well get the brand new 959 instead. So I got it. Obviously, been happy with it ever since, and this is definitely a keeper. And if I do want to get another bike, it won't be a replacement for this. It'll be an addition to this. If I do decide to, or when I do decide to add another bike, it can't be another sports bike, because this sports bike, although I do love it very much and it's such a thrill to ride, for those longer rides all the way down to Monterey, by the time I get to San Jose, I'm already in. My hands are already hurting, my wrist hurts, my back hurts, because, you know, I'm carrying enough items for the day with me, you know. So I would like to get something comfortable, maybe a Scrambler, maybe a Diavo, Hyper Motard, or, you know, something like that I could be a little bit more upright, or even a Super Sport. The Super Sport actually looks similar to this bike, but is more upright. It looks beautiful. I actually rode it. It feels like the type of bike you could just throw around all day long, but with a similar look to this beauty. I have yet to try a Street Fighter. That might be an option, maybe. I don't know. If you have any of these bikes that I'm talking about, let me know what you think. Let me know how they are truly as like a bike to own. So we're talking about Street Fighter, Diavo, Hyper Motard, the Scrambler, even a Monster. Shoot, you know. And I do want to, you know, throw a little bit of storage on it, so when I do make those rides down to Monterey, I don't have to carry everything on my back, you know. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you have any of those bikes, what you think of them, or you know, throw out another name over there, a different brand, you know, like Triumph or BMW even. But I'd like to stick to Ducati. I love the brand. I'm definitely a fan. And yeah, let me know what you think. So here we are in Sonoma, California. There's known to some people as like the little Four Corners. Really not Four Corners. Well, kind of, if you count this over here, although you can't go there obviously because it says it's closed. Anyways, hope you guys liked the video. Again, let me know in the comments what you would get as an addition to the 959 Panigale, something comfortable like the bikes that I mentioned. Again, if you like the video, please give that a thumbs up. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe, share with anyone that might like this type of content, and yeah, I'll talk to you later.